get the... There we go. Zoom lady has officially let us begun recording. So, Tony, very, very, very huge welcome from me to my little podcast called Interstate Check, where we talk about all things music, art, hobbies, and mental health. Thanks for joining
All right.
us. We're all set up to go now. Loving that background, by the way. Love that wall you've got going on behind
Thanks.
you.
It's my
Very
yeah. Thank you. Just
so.
my party room.
Everyone's a party room for municipal, hey?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess so.
cool. So look, man, I typically what I sort of do with my interviews is I like to keep it conversational. I'll have a few of the kind of, generic journalistic style questions, but I mostly keep it free form and just with whatever comes up. So welcome once again. It's a massive honor for me to have you here on the podcast. So how's things going
Thank
in
you.
the municipal camp?
Pretty good. Pretty busy. Everyone's kind of branched off and doing their side bands right now.
Yeah.
So everyone's doing their own thing, and then we're gonna regroup and go to Australia.
Awesome.
We just
Awesome.
played last weekend. We played last weekend in Milwaukee, and like Dave and Phil were on tour with Morbicon. They had to drive from one of the Morbicon shows to Milwaukee Metal Fest. And then they ended up playing earlier that day, and then we played later that day. So those dudes are juggling around a lot of stuff right now. Then I just got back. I flew in this morning from Las Vegas because I was
Mm,
singing for RKL, and now Bat's on tour. Nick and Ryan are in this band Bat, and they're on
mm.
tour. So everyone's just kind of doing their thing right now, and then we regroup like Voltron, and then go to Australia.
Well, we'll get to the battle jacket wearing elephant in the room about touring in a second, obviously, with the tour coming up. But I think that's a good point, man. Like you guys, like yourself, I mean, Iron Reagan, and yeah, there's so many bands you guys are involved in, and not just in terms of, a lot of, especially with a lot of genres, I find, people have side projects and it might be more of a bedroom thing. But I've noticed with yourself and other members, no, when you guys are in side projects, you're out there, you're slogging away, you're touring. How do you guys sort of manage all that? Because it sounds like a lot of sort of commitment in terms of keeping up with Municipal, who have a pretty solid touring schedule, but then also these other projects. Sounds like a lot to sort of fit in.
I mean, really, it kind of hit a wall when I was doing Iron Reagan. It kind of progressed into this thing that was bigger than we thought.
Yeah.
Where then it was where Iron Reagan was supposed to be like a part-time fun band, and then it ended up evolving into this its own beast where it was like both bands were kind of relying on me for you know me and Phil actually for doing shows and work or whatever, and it ended up being something crazy where we were doing it was like 8 years I think Iron Reagan was going, and it was like over 200 shows a year, and it almost
Wow.
crushed me. It almost just
Wow.
crushed me. So I ended up moving out of Richmond literally like 2 months before COVID, which I was planning on moving for years, for like 10 years. I was planning on moving. And then it just so happened to happen right when COVID hit. And I think it was just being able to hit the brakes and to reassess my life and
Yeah.
how I handle things. I could never do something like that extreme as far as touring goes, and working with like another band that was equally. I mean, it was like Iron Maiden was growing at such an incredible rate that it was
Mm.
turning into, it was like a big obligation that I
Yeah.
owed not only just my bandmates in Municipal Waste but also Iron Reagan. It was just kind of like not fair for everyone to
Yeah.
do that. So you got to kind of like juggle it around, and you don't want to have your other bandmates have any resentment towards what you're doing. Like, I mean, waste is waste is like our priority for sure, but we love our
Mm,
side bands too.
yeah,
So you don't want to let a lot of people down. So you have to take that into consideration. You have to take your other bandmates into consideration too. So um now my shit's way more laid back, and I've been doing RKL.
mm,
That's been really fucking fun. And that's those guys do Lagwagon like full time, so they understand how how
they
things
get it.
are. And yeah, and I
Yeah.
also do a band called Heaven's Gate down here in Florida with a bunch of Florida dudes,
Mm.
and that's got Paul from Cannibal Corpse drumming, and that's a super fun project that nobody in that band wants to tour or do anything. So it's super chill and fun.
Great. Sounds like things have kind of stabilized a bit, which has helped you sort of manage your energy for putting it into municipal by the sounds.
Absolutely, yeah. And
Yeah.
then and I think that I mean, it worked out great too. And it's just I'm older now too. I just turned 48 like a week ago, and
Mm.
I don't want to be on the road 200 days a year anymore.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with my dogs and my girlfriend and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, I'm mid-30s, and even like the 200 dates a year of Iron Reagan, and that sounded brutal enough. I guess that's
Well, I
also
was in my mid 30s. But I don't even remember them. I don't remember that real well. I don't know what happened there.
Well, speaking of, I guess you guys have a bit of a reputation. It's a bit of an aesthetic. You've got the art of partying, all that sort of stuff. Do you find that your live shows still pretty hectic? Like still a bit of mayhem, like in terms of
Yeah,
shows?
yeah. There, it's crazy. It's still pretty fucking crazy. It's just bigger crazy now. It's like larger rooms, and yeah, it's definitely pretty pretty violent, but in a good way. Like, people
Yeah,
aren't really killing themselves. It's more like it's like if Slayer had a more positive vibe. But I mean, we're not like
awesome,
as big as Slayer obviously, but um the vibe is definitely like rowdy as hell still. So
awesome.
I'm glad we still have that edge at least too.
That's great. And I think from my perspective is like I'm a big thrash fan, big thrasher. Been a fan, been following you guys since Hazardous Mutation days. And I definitely got the second it was announced, I got a ticket, gotta say, big fan.
Oh, thanks.
And I find that with thrash metal, we actually don't cop that much modern thrash down here these days. So I'm fully expecting people to and obviously, especially in Melbourne, we were one of the most locked down cities in the world. So I think people still have a few kinks to work out of their system. And I find that with live shows at the moment, that's where a lot of that's coming out. So I think
I
people are
like
going to
that.
really unleash for this one. So do you find then that like with those larger venues and that larger size and that energy, it's sort of that yeah, the vibe from the crowd is still the same, if not more. And what's the sort of the vibe from the crowd over time? Do you feel like it's been much the same, like people are still getting as rowdy, or has that even increased with the bigger venues and stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely increased for sure.
Wow.
It's I think the growth of the band, it's almost doubled since COVID. Like,
Mm,
everywhere. Our listeners, you can just tell like our Spotify listeners are like have quadrupled, and the shows have been. I mean, we're doing twice the size rooms now that we were before COVID. We, I mean, our shit in Europe is insane right now.
yeah.
It's like doing two arena tours, like with like Lamb of God and Creator, and we're doing a tour of Cannibal Corpse coming up
Wow.
in Europe, and yeah, I mean, it's just been outstanding. And I never thought that this band, our music would really translate in a big room, but we've
Mm.
actually been able to pull it off really well. It's like just see a bunch of faces like smiling, like they can't believe it's happening. So I don't know, it's fucking cool, man. I never, I would have never thought 23 years ago that the shit we were doing was gonna turn into what it is. It's pretty amazing.
Do you feel that that's especially surprising given like you mentioned Slayer before, and I know people get into genres this and that, and you guys have more of a sort of a crossover appeal. Do you feel like that's sort of an element of where you're thinking like, oh, I wasn't actually expecting this to blow up that much, because that often you don't often see that from the early 2000s onwards with that more crossover style.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, I don't know if that's a result from us like sticking to our guns and just like
Mm,
not really like trying to pander to like try to put out a mainstream record or any shit
yeah.
like that. I mean, I don't know what it is, but we just always kind of did our own thing and try to write the best record possible every time and try to make
Mm,
it better and progress it a little bit further, but stick to our guns and kind of keep it the same band, same people, same energy. Um, Whatever we're doing, it's been working, and we're able to come back to Australia for a third time. So I'm very excited about
hell
that.
yeah, and so am I. And so yeah, it seems like you guys have really hit kind of like a late career stride, because I mean the last few albums have just been, all of them have been fantastic from my point of view. But I noticed that what you're saying before, we try to make our best album every time. Like I really do notice that in your sound, like with Tango and Thrash, that sort of thing, and Shatterbrain, like it's just been a run of really decent albums. How do you guys sort of, in terms of wanting to maintain that consistency and that integrity, what goes into that in more of the songwriting end and the rehearsing end? How do you guys sort of, I guess, keep the fire going?
uh, what's weird? It's weird for Electrified Brain. We wrote it with me not in the state. I moved away, so we actually wrote that like long distance, and I was fucking terrified, especially when COVID happened,
Mm,
that how I was going to be able to pull that off, writing that with them. But it luckily, out of some grace of whatever, I moved to this town, which is like a suburb of um, St. Petersburg, which is a really cool town. But where I lived was like all old people, and there wasn't like any punk scene, or wasn't like a lot of punks there. St. Pete had shit going on, but I lived kind of like across the peninsula,
yep.
and so and couldn't really go out and meet a lot of people. But out of some huge coincidence, I lived next door to this guy who was a fan of the band, but also like he was super into like RKL and shit like that. And
Awesome.
he it was so fucking crazy and coincidental. And so we kind of just made Electrified Brain like our thing, and we just would hang out like a few times a week and just work on the record. And I would even like they would send me a practice recording from their phones, like they just put the shit on top of the amp,
Mm,
and I would take it and I would be like, oh, put this riff here and move this shit around and send it back to them. It was actually easier than when I would be sitting with them, because I would get, oh man, I remember shit, even when we were writing like Art of Parting or whatever, I would be sitting in the practice room being like, no, you got, because I'm a singer, man. I don't know how to fucking explain a guitar riff. You got to do the riff at the beginning part and then put that. And then they're like, dude,
yeah.
I'm trying to remember this, not what the fuck you're saying right now. So I would, me being there would actually make shit more like confusing, like
Right.
instead of like breathing with it, they could send it to me, and then I could digitally fuck with it and
Yep.
send it back. And I would
Mm,
do that with, dude. There was parts where I would actually like, um, I would sing guitar solos to Nikki. Like I would actually like send him a fucking phone recording of me
it's
going
adorable.
like over a part of the song, like do the solo there, and I'd mouth a solo almost as a joke, but sometimes he could actually fucking nail the solo like how I was mouthing it.
That's
The guy's a
amazing.
fucking the guy's a fucking genius, man. But Yeah, shit like that. It was it actually worked. Like something like me moving away um actually like improved the band's songwriting, which
Mm,
it gave them a little bit of room to be creative and we throw shit at the wall. Like Phil likes to say, like, you throw it at the wall and see what sticks and see what we
yeah,
can work with.
yeah,
There's a lot of that going on too, which is cool.
yeah. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
you guys have got so much material in the tank ready to go for your tour upcoming. What are you most excited about with regards to touring Australia? What are you guys most looking forward to with regards to coming down here?
I just, man, I say it again and again. I fucking love the people there, man. I just love the attitude. I love the energy. It was like one of the first places we played out of the country when we first started, and it was
Wow.
like the chaos of playing the art house. I'm sorry, the art house. It was just kind of like it was like they knew exactly how we wanted to like put a show on for people, and
Awesome.
friendly violence and just good times all around. A lot of drinking and a lot of hell raising. I don't know. There's something about the vibe there with the people there. It just puts a big smile on my face.
Awesome. Well, look, I think you're going to get plenty of friendly, for legal intents and purposes, friendly violence, lots of rowdiness. I know I'll definitely be getting rowdy for it. So, on behalf of everyone in Australia who's going to be going to these tours, which if you aren't, you should, because it's going to be good. I just want to say thanks for coming, and you'll see me in the pit running around like a lunatic.
I can't wait, man. Say hello, please. We love your friendly faces.
All righty. Oh, I do have an extra question too, by the way. So I admin a group on Facebook called Muse Legion, and every now and then I pick out a question from someone. And one of the admins has actually asked specifically, when are you guys going to come over and bring Gamma Bomb with you?
Oh, I don't even know those dudes, so I don't know. Have you ever heard of a band? Do bands bring bands to Australia? We could barely bring ourselves there. I mean, seriously, it took us fucking 10 years to get Municipal Waste there. You want
Yeah,
us to bring a band? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we're that big. I guess like I guess like bigger bands can do that. I don't know. I don't think we're big enough to bring a band. I'd
yeah.
like to. That'd be cool. Sure, it'd be fun.
Little bit harder than just chucking some extra Jews in a van or a bus when you're going across continents. But
I would imagine that would like double or triple your expenses bringing, 4 or 5 more dudes.
yeah,
It's a lot of
exactly.
dudes, man. It's a lot of dudes.
Well, look, we hope to ease your expenses because I think if you've got any merch left by the second show, I'll be surprised because I'm going to be fucking buying half of it.
I need
Um,
to order merch, actually. I'm really glad you said that. I was on the plane today going, fuck, I didn't order merch yet. We also like to bring some over, so we'll try to bring some like weird stuff that we have
oh, hell
to
yeah. Weird stuff.
hopefully.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I'm going to keep it.
I got some shit up my sleeve for sure.
All right. Well, you keep that watertight for the audience so they're left guessing and wondering with their wallets ready for the weird shit.
Oh,
Sweet. All right. Thanks so much, Tony. Appreciate your time, man. And I'll see you
thank you
guys
very
on
much, man.
stage. Cheers, dude.
Absolutely. Sure.
Have a good
Later.
one. See ya.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.